America's story is long and complex. It spans over 500 years. This history is full of triumphs and struggles. It shows how a nation grew from colonies to a world power. Many people and events shaped this journey. Some were good, some were bad. All of them are important to understand. The United States has faced many challenges. It has also achieved great things. From early settlers to modern citizens, Americans have worked to build their country. They fought for independence, they expanded across a continent, they dealt with difficult issues like slavery and civil rights. America's history includes wars, inventions, and social changes. It shows how democracy grew and changed over time. This history helps us understand America today. The story of America as we know it begins in 1492, a year that changed the course of history forever. That's when Christopher Columbus arrived in the Americas believing he had found a new route to Asia. He thought he had found a new route to Asia, but he was mistaken. Instead, he found a new world, a land full of untapped potential and mystery. This monumental discovery led to more exploration by European powers. European countries sent ships to claim land and riches, driven by the promise of wealth and new opportunities. The first successful English settlement was Jamestown, a pivotal moment in American history. It was founded in 1607 in Virginia, marking the beginning of permanent English presence in the New World. Life was hard for these early settlers who faced numerous challenges. Many died from disease and hunger, struggling to survive in the harsh conditions. But they learned to grow tobacco, a skill that would change their fortunes. This crop became very important, serving as the colony's economic backbone. It helped the colony survive and grow, attracting more settlers and investment. In 1620, another important group arrived, adding to the diversity of the new land. They were the Pilgrims on the Mayflower. They landed in Massachusetts seeking a new life. They came for religious freedom, hoping to practice their faith without persecution. Over time, more people came to the new land, each bringing their own dreams and aspirations. By the mid-1700s, there were 13 English colonies along the East Coast, each with its own unique character. This time laid the foundation for what would become the United States, a nation built on the hopes and struggles of its early settlers. By the 1760s, the colonists were unhappy with British rule. They felt the British government was unfair. The British made new taxes. They also tried to control trade. This made the colonists angry. They started to talk about freedom from Britain. In 1773, colonists in Boston held a protest. It was called the Boston Tea Party. They threw British tea into the harbor. This was a big step towards revolution. In 1775, the American Revolution began. On July 4, 1776, the colonies declared independence. They wrote the Declaration of Independence. Finally, in 1783, the war ended. The United States of America was now an independent country. After winning independence, America needed a plan for governing. First, they tried the Articles of Confederation. This gave most power to individual states, but it didn't work well. The country needed a stronger central government. In 1787, leaders met to write a new plan. This became the Constitution of the United States. It created 3 branches of government. It also listed the rights of citizens. The Constitution is still the highest law of the land today. George Washington became the first president in 1789. He helped set up the new government. Other early presidents like John Adams and Thomas Jefferson followed. They faced many challenges. During this time, America began to grow. In 1803, the country bought the Louisiana Territory from France. By the mid-1800s, slavery was a big problem in America. The North and South had different views on this issue. The South's economy depended on slave labor, while the North was becoming more industrial. Many people there wanted to end slavery. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln became president. He was against slavery spreading to new states. Some southern states decided to leave the United States. They formed the Confederate States of America. This led to the Civil War in 1861. The Civil War lasted 4 years. It was the deadliest war in American history. Brother fought against brother. The North, or Union, eventually won. The war ended in 1865. President Lincoln was killed just days after the war ended. After the war came Reconstruction. The 13th Amendment ended slavery. After the Civil War, America changed quickly. This time is called the Gilded Age. Big businesses grew, railroads connected the country, new inventions like the telephone appeared, cities got bigger as more people moved there for work, but not everything was good. Workers often had poor conditions, many people were very poor, a few people became very rich. These rich people were called robber barons. They controlled big parts of the economy. This led to calls for change. The Progressive Era started around 1900. People wanted to fix society's problems, they pushed for workers' rights, they wanted to stop child labor, women fought for the right to vote. The early 1900s brought big changes for America, setting the stage for a century of transformation. World War I started in Europe in 1914, marking the beginning of a global conflict that would reshape nations. At first, the U.S. stayed out of the war, maintaining a stance of neutrality while the conflict raged overseas. But in 1917, America joined the fight, responding to threats and alliances that drew them into the fray. This was America's first major role in a world war, a significant shift in its international presence. The war ended in 1918, leaving a changed world in its wake. America was now seen as a powerful nation, having proven its military and economic might on the global stage. After the war came the Roaring Twenties, a decade of prosperity and cultural dynamism. This was a time of wealth and new ideas, with innovations in technology, entertainment, and lifestyle. But it didn't last. In 1929, the stock market crashed, sending shockwaves through the economy. This started the Great Depression, a period of severe economic downturn. Many people lost their jobs and homes, struggling to make ends meet. It was a very hard time for most Americans with widespread poverty and uncertainty. President Franklin D. Roosevelt started programs to help people, aiming to provide relief and recovery. These were called the New Deal, a series of initiatives designed to revive the economy. They gave jobs to many Americans, offering hope and stability. They also created new rules for banks and businesses, aiming to prevent future economic crises. The country slowly started to recover, though the process was long and arduous. But the Great Depression lasted for many years, deeply affecting the lives of countless individuals. In 1939, World War II began in Europe, once again plunging the world into conflict. America tried to stay out of the war at first, hoping to avoid the devastation of another global conflict. But in 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, a surprise assault that changed everything. This brought America into the war, marking the beginning of its significant involvement in World War II. After World War II, a new conflict began. It was called the Cold War. The United States and the Soviet Union were the two most powerful countries. They had very different ideas about how to run a country. They didn't fight directly, but they competed in many ways. The Cold War affected life in America. People were afraid of nuclear war. The government looked for communist spies. This led to a time called the Red Scare. Many people were accused of being communists. Some lost their jobs because of this. During this time, America was also changing at home. The economy was good. Many people moved to the suburbs. They bought cars and new appliances. TV became popular, but not everyone shared in this prosperity. In the 1950s and 1960s, African Americans fought tirelessly for equal rights and justice. This monumental struggle was known as the Civil Rights Movement. They aimed to end the harsh realities of segregation. They sought the same opportunities and freedoms as white Americans. Influential leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. led peaceful protests and marches. There were numerous pivotal moments in this movement that shaped history. In 1954, the Supreme Court declared segregated schools illegal, a landmark decision. In 1955, Rosa Parks bravely refused to give up her bus seat to a white person. Her courageous act led to the Montgomery bus boycott, a significant protest. In 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech in Washington, D.C., inspiring millions. The government responded by passing new laws to protect civil rights. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 made discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin illegal. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 safeguarded African Americans' right to vote, ensuring their voices were heard. These were monumental steps forward in the fight for equality. However, the journey for true equality and justice was far from over. The civil rights movement also inspired other marginalized groups to fight for their rights and freedoms. The late 20th century brought new challenges for America. The Cold War ended in 1991. The Soviet Union broke apart. America was now the world's only superpower, but new problems appeared. Terrorism became a big concern. On September 11, 2001, terrorists attacked New York and Washington, D.C. This led to wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. At home, America faced other issues. The economy had ups and downs. Healthcare and education became big topics of debate. Technology changed how people live and work. The internet connected people in new ways, but it also created new problems. America's population kept changing. More immigrants came from different parts of the world. This made the country more diverse. But it also led to debates about immigration policy. America's history is a long and complex story. It starts with colonies fighting for freedom. It ends with a powerful nation facing new challenges. Along the way, America has changed a lot. It has grown from a small country to a world leader. It has faced wars, economic troubles, and social conflicts. Throughout its history, America has tried to live up to its ideals. These include freedom, equality, and opportunity for all. Sometimes it has succeeded, other times it has fallen short. The country has made progress in many areas, but there is still work to do. Understanding America's history is important. It helps explain why things are the way they are today. It shows how the country has dealt with problems in the past. This can give ideas for solving current issues.